trips. First of all, just want to go over the rods and reels. We're going to go, typically, I'll start with the lightest one. I don't know if we're going to need this or not, but this is like a discount outfit. Probably a lot of you already have something like this. I know Joseph does. But last August, the Dorado came in pretty strong. If there's a lot of schoolie yellowfin tuna, this is a fun way to catch them. 20-pound test, like a 400 size bait cast reel that has good gearing, good drag. Shimano Trank, style Alexa, and Kuma Komodos, they're all good. And something else that's really cool, we have a bunch of seeker rods, like a full lineup, and a full lineup of United Composites. So you can actually feel these rods here, because not everyone sells them around here, so pretty different. The next outfit would be a 30-pound rod. Again, this is kind of a repeat of last time. 30-pound. I have a star drag. You don't need a 2-speed for a 30-pound outfit. Not necessary, unless you're really tired. But yeah, 30-pound, fly line, small jigs, mega baits. I'm gonna go pretty quick through this because the knot tying is gonna take up time. Here's another. Now this is your heavier outfit. This is a 40-pound rig. It's a 2-speed. This is a Penn 25 narrow 2-speed fathom with the United Composites. What is it? Yeah, 7.6 HP. That's the model. So it's a 40-pound stick. You're all going to be able to pull on these to actually feel what they feel like, because a lot of times when we fish up here, we don't understand the pressure the fish put on this gear. Because up here, your 30-pound salmon is nothing.
I want to get you 30 pounds.
Good. So the next rig is like a 60-pound. So you'll do a lot of your sinker rig fishing, and Jeff's going to get into that a little bit in more detail. Sinker rig fishing. This could also do a light 80-pound. It's kind of an in-between rod, but this is more 60-pound. This is a Ukuma Makaira 15T with 80-pound braid, and I got like 450 yards of braid on here. And my heavy setup is a United Composites, a Viper rated, it's my 100-pound rod. This is another 2-speed reel with like almost 700 yards of 100-pound braid, hollow core. And you'll also pull on these today. We're gonna go out there, and I'm gonna go down to the bowling alley, and you're gonna stand on the other side to give you a real feel of this, because you don't really know until you know. So as far as leader material, we're gonna need 20, 30, 40, 60-pound, and 200-pound if the bluefin are around. All right. So I have a feeling there's gonna be bluefin. It's going on right now. They're catching fish up to like 200 pounds right now. Lighter leaders, a lot of times at night, they'll actually chew through it if they're bigger. The 60-pound will be for your sinker rigs, and the lighter lines would be for fly lining or smaller fish too. So we need a variety, and I got to talk to Steve. I know some of you want to do a group buy, so we could get some 50-yard spools of certain fluorocarbons that will keep the cost down. The 200 pounds is just going to be expensive no matter what you buy, because it's so unique.
We did buy some leader, didn't we? Didn't we place an order with Denise?
We didn't play. We after about certain pound class leader material.
Yeah.
I haven't heard if it's come in yet, but I can
But
check.
I thought we did place an order though.
I told her, yeah, we want this, and this, so I'll follow up. With
Okay.
Where we're at. Yeah,
Okay.
4 different. All these weight classes were covered.
Okay.
And I think also some various circle hooks as well.
Yeah.
So as far as jigs go, the schoolie tuna, or if the bluefin are finicky, these Colt snipers or mega baits work really well. You want to change the hooks on them, 80 to 120 grams is what you want.
We're not liable for nobody getting hooks.
They're pretty available. I mean, 2 years ago, you couldn't find one on a shelf. So
How much is a jig like that?
they're like $10, but you got to change the split ring and the hook.
Highly recommended to change.
Yeah,
Change the
I have
split.
not done those on.
And what's the upgrade on the split ring and hook?
You look at the same diameter, say split ring,
Uh-huh.
go to the owner hyper wire, not the ultra wire, which is super hard to put on. It'll be like an 80-pound, probably that size is like an 80-pound ring, but just match the same size,
Uh-huh.
or maybe one size bigger. And then a hook, just get like a owner stinger treble that's like the same size, and they'll be like 2x strong or 3x strong.
Okay.
2 or 3x strong will be fine.
So like another $5?
Per jig?
Yeah.
Probably less than that.
Okay.
I mean, you buy one
When you
pack
go
of-
to the bigger stuff, they'll go up.
Okay.
But on stuff like this, you can buy one pack of rings, it'd probably be like, one pack of hooks, there's like 5 or 6 hooks, and one pack of 6 or 8 split rings, is probably in a range of 10 or 11, 12.
Oh, okay, okay.
For the two, and then you divide that amongst your jig, if you had 5 jigs, it'd be like $2 a piece. Something.
Got it. Okay, cool.
All right, so if we do night fish, which is a high probability for bluefin tuna, this is what we'll be using mostly. This is a knife jig. This is 280 grams, but typically 300 grams has been pretty normal. But this is with the heavy duty treble hook, assist hook, and 200-pound fluorocarbon on the leader. There should be, yeah, there should be 280. And this is how I set up my flat balls. This is a 500? And this is a 250. You can just go with 2 assist hooks, but
So what's the difference between these and the Colts?
those are heavier.
They're heavier?
Yeah, they're heavier. The Colts only go up to, I think, 150.
Just fish it the same way?
Yeah.
The Colt snipers are generally gonna be used for casting out and
Yeah.
retrieving.
Uh-huh.
You can fish them vertical up and down,
Uh-huh.
but generally, casting and retrieving, you cast it out, let it sink down away, burn it in.
Gotcha.
These ones here, at nighttime,
Just straight
typically,
drop.
just drop it straight down, and when it stops, you put it in gear, cause you know you got bait.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, this is a lot more fun than trolling. I know a lot of people fish bluefin up here trolling. It's different because you feel the bite, right? You're not like motoring around. You're actually, and it's funny how soft the bite is a lot of times. You just barely feel it a lot of the times. It's just like that. Or your lure just stops when you're letting it down. A lot of people like to use metered braid or they mark their line because when you're on the boat, they'll say how deep the fish are. Now, for me, I'm really old school, so I don't do that. I count like I'm fishing for salmon.
So I see those have different shapes. The shape doesn't matter, right?
The knife jig is a little more popular now.
It's
It's a lot more vertical.
Just because it
I
goes
think your torpedo-
faster.
Your torpedo with weight with hooks right now are super popular
Yeah.
too.
The thing with the flat falls, they're meant to do this on the way
Yeah.
down. So they have
Right.
a lot more resistance, and they take forever to get down, and if there's current, it scopes out too far, you'll never get down to the
Oh,
bottom.
okay.
With a knife jig, it just drops straight down.
Like a bullet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these fish are, at nighttime, are not particular. So
Okay.
pick the color that you like, and that'll work.
Got it. Well, if you have like a flat fall, can you offset it with having a heavier weight?
Yeah, so I have
Okay.
some 500s. 500 grams.
Yeah.
You could use those.
Okay.
But remember, the shape of it is what's causing it to have more drag
Yeah.
and do this on the way down. That's what
Okay.
it's designed to do, versus straight.
I brought a bunch of my jigs for you guys to look at.
Yeah,
so-
that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so again, you're gonna want to get extra hooks for your knife jigs. Some of them don't even come with hooks. So a lot of guys will just go with 2 assist hooks, one on top, one on bottom. That works fine. Some guys like the trebles because they can get in the gills and kind of just mess the fish up a little bit so you can get them up a little quicker.
Do you ever put any bait on the jigs?
No. I think a lot of people overthink the brain of the tuna. When they're eating, they're really stupid. I mean, it can be mayhem, and sometimes it's just a fish. It just depends on the bite. It's fishing. But yeah, a lot of times I'll use sleeves. If you notice, there's sleeves for the crimps. I got string sleeves and there's crimps. Again, that treble hook's a 4 times strong treble hook, and those are what are those, monster? Monster? No, not monster hooks. The big Jobu hooks.
Oh yeah.
Those are mustache Jobu hooks on the bottom.
Owner Jobu.
Yeah, those are super strong, super sharp. And then the next thing would be more about the sinker rigs. I'll let Jeff talk about that.
Okay, so for sinker rig, basically what you're trying to do is you're using bait, live bait, and you're trying to, this is usually a daytime way to fish for the fish, but basically what you're doing is you're rubber banding on a torpedo sinker, and during the fight, there's a couple ways to put them on. I'll show you both. But in this method, with the weight moving around and whatnot, where it's dangling, the rubber band will oftentimes just break off. Now the thing that I don't like about this method is that the weight is dangling, and then as you're sending the bait down, the weight is going to come down and your bait's going to be up here. It tends to get more tangled up. This catches other people's line, etc. So this one way you can do it. So this is just a 4 ounce. So usually you're probably using minimum of probably 6 ounces, depending on the current and all that. So the dangle method, I don't know what you call it. You just overhand your rubber band onto your spectra, and you have your knot here. Then you have no more than probably 6 or 7 feet of leader to your hook. Again, so you don't need it to get tangled. You don't want it to get tangled up. Then what you do is you just loop it through. So you put it through the eye of the sinker, wrap it around, and it just hangs there, right? So as you can see, this thing is going to spin around, and it's a mess. So I really don't like this method, but it works. So the other way to do it is, again, you have your rubber band tied on, it's above your knot, and then what you would do in either method, you're going to slide this knot, the rubber band all the way down to your knot, so it won't go past it, right? So then what you do in this method, you still put the rubber band through the sinker, and you're going to wrap it in the sinker once like that. You're going to go back through the bottom eye. And these are Office Depot number 32 size rubber bands. Quarter pound bag will last you a lifetime.
Until they dry out.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there you go. Now once you get it through the eye like this, I don't have a hook on here, but you would take your hook that's tied on, and then you slide it through there. So you slide it through the other end of the loop, and pull it through this way. So now this is in line, right? So then you can slide it down to the knot, so it's not going to go further. But now this is in line, and what's nice about that is that it's not going to tangle anybody else up, or very, very difficult to tangle everybody else up. Then also, as it's going down, this doesn't get the bait doesn't necessarily get tangled up as much. So those are the 2 ways to hook a sinker rig. And again, you're probably going to use anywhere from, I'd say 6 on the low end, 6 ounces up to maybe even 10 or 12 ounces, depending on the current and the depth. So if the current's ripping that much, I probably won't fish, but that's just me.
What kind of hook are you using?
And then you just use a circle hook is fine.
This is a live bait setup?
Yeah, live bait setup. Yeah.
Okay.
Is the sinker always supposed to break off, or?
No, in this case it won't necessarily break off, so I don't lose my sinker and I don't pollute the ocean. I'd rather just not lose my sinker. So this one very rarely breaks off. The dangly one breaks off a lot. And then yeah, that's it. And again, depending on the bait, you always match the hook size to the bait size. So probably anywhere from a size 1 or 2, probably like a size 2 hook up to maybe a 3/0 hook, depending on when you're doing a sinker rig. You always nose hook the bait never belly hook or butt hook, always crossways through the nostrils on the sardine.
So the captain says fish at
Because if
50
you-
feet.
it'll rip off, right? It'll rip off. You're shooting it down there, and it's gonna rip off. The cartilage in the nose is really hard. It's gonna keep the bait on there,
Oh, okay.
and it'll still swim just fine. You're not, again, when you're butt hooking bait, when you're fishing down deep, you're going down, you're trying to get this down 200 feet. It's not finesse fishing for the most part. When you're fly lining, meaning that, it's just a hook and no weight at all, and you have your bait, depending on how the fish are biting and all that, you might want to butt hook a bait so it swims downward, right? And usually, if it's a really, really hot bite, you can nose hook them, you can hook them anyway and get it away, get it out there and the fish will bite it. Bluefin fishing especially, they're very finicky, so a lot of times butt hooking the bait, it allows the bait it makes the bait want to swim down a little bit more. And but in the nose hook, whenever you're using a weight, whether it's a sinker rig or if you have a sliding egg sinker, right, a little small 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce sliding egg sinker, you're no longer fly lining, even if you're using a weight. So always nose hook when you're using a weight, whether it's a sinker rig like this or if you're using a egg sliding type of thing, always nose hook.
But so when you're shooting it down, you're literally counting your line. 1, 2, 2, 2.
You can, but if the captain says, hey, they're 220 feet down, you can, if you want, you can do that, or you just let it down until you feel happy. I mean, again, usually these things are, you're going to get bit. Once you're down a ways into the zone, you don't have to worry too much. If there's fish biting, you'll get bit.
Okay.
But if you want to, a lot of times you want to be really specific, just count it out, or some guys have line counters that they put on there, but just think with jig fishing, some guys put line counters on. But just 1 foot, that works.
I do that all the time.
Do you guys mark your line?
No, I use the mini candy wrapper method. So I'll count it out, and when I know I'm at my depth, I'll put a little candy wrapper or a piece of paper, whatever under my line on the spool, so I can work my bait or lure, and I'll wind up like 20 crags.
I've never
and
heard
then
that
I'll let
before.
it back down till I get to my piece of paper or candy wrapper.
Oh.
That's why I'm always back to the same spot. So I count once unless I catch a fish. So that's what I do.
On the charter boat I went on last week, they put line counters, and then they'd go to 250, and then they'd mark it with a Sharpie.
Yeah. But when it's
I like the candy wrapper more.
well, when it's dark and at night,
Yeah.
and like, sometimes they'll be like 1 in the morning and they'll wake you up,
Yeah.
and
I sleep.
I don't know, it's hard to look for that one little mark on, 300 feet of line,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so,
At night.
so I count. I know it's old school, but you know what, won me a jackpot. So, but I just want to show you like one of the hooks we like is the owner.
Is there biodegradable candy wrappers?
No, you don't want the biodegradable ones.
Hey Jeff, how long is your top shot on that, on the sinker rig?
So for the sinker rig,
Yeah.
you'll really only want 6 or 7 feet. You don't want to have that too much line between the sinker and the hook, because it's just easier to tangle up. So you only need about 6 or 7 feet. It should be fine.
And you just free spool it down?
The sinker's always on the mono, right?
It's always on the spectra. It's above the mono. So
Yeah.
it depends. If you can run long, some people will run a long, and it depends on the rod. If the rod is like a traditional or older type rod where it's really fast action, so only bends at the top, you don't have any stretch or any flex in your system, right? So you would typically run a longer monofilament top shot of maybe 25, 30 yards. That mono gives you some stretch, so you're not going to pull hooks out of the fish's mouth. These rods that I'm using are made to run with very short, all spectra, and then very short top shot. They have a lot of bend. You'll be able to feel it later.
You'll be able to feel it. We're going to put you through the paces tonight.
Is that
And if you are running the longer mono, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. There's a knot, an easy knot to tie a piece of fluorocarbon. You really want the fluorocarbon just for abrasion resistance on the fish's teeth. It's not about invisibility, it's about abrasion. So you could run 6-foot piece of fluorocarbon, there's a knot you can tie that's very strong to your mono, and then you would have the weight on the mono part at that point. But in the way I have it set, the way I fish, I have all spectrum, so it's on the spectrum.
Is that typically a day and night, or just a day technique right there?
It could be either
Both.
one.
Either.
But typically, you knife jigs out.
Is there any advantage to like having a glow weight? Like if for
in the dark.
no,
It'll
yeah,
look-
glow in the
it'll
dark.
look cool at night.
Look,
when
these
you can see it going down the
fish
hill.
are eating torpedo sinkers with hooks on them right now.
Yeah,
with
plain
nothing
old,
else.
yeah, plain old.
At
stick-
night.
Don't overthink it. If they're there and they're gonna eat, you're gonna catch them.
Okay. I'm just thinking if there's a leg up advantage, because I could powder coat my weights.
I haven't noticed.
No, I mean, the only thing I would actually caution is that if they see this glow sinker, do they bite that glow sinker?
Versus a bait.
Yeah.
versus the bait,
Okay.
and then who knows what happens, right?
Got it.
But yeah, no big deal.
Okay.
So this is a 4.0 ringed Mutu circle hook. It's a owner. It's what I typically use when I do my sinker rigs.
Yeah.
Or if I know bigger size fish are around. So full strong hook. Okay, fishing etiquette. So fishing on a long range style boat's a lot different than going on Chris's fishing trip on a rock cod charter.
Ooh.
Big difference.
Okay.
Way more different than a salmon charter. Any of that. So, you know, when the boat stops, because the guy's throwing baits out and they see the spool coming towards the boat, they're gonna stop and they're gonna say for everyone to start fishing essentially. So you go to the bait tank, right? You go with your rod to the bait tank. Because you have your hook, you grab
And
the strongest
why is it-
swimming
hold on.
sturdy.
So why is it you want to bring your rod to the bait tank?
Oh, I'll get to that. You grab the strongest swimming bait and you hook it either nose or butt hook or collar hook. I'm thinking of actually having the deckhands on the boat go through that when we get there. And you hook your bait. Okay, now let's say the boat stopped. This is the back of the boat. The deckhand standing on top of the bait tank throwing sardines off the top, right? So what you want to do, if the boat is drifting this way, you're going to want to cast over here, fly line your bait out there, and you're going to let your bait, if your bait starts coming back towards you, guess what you got to do?
Reel it in.
Reel it in and go back to the bait tank, because that's no good. Right, so you want your bait to swim away. So you'll cast, and what I do is I finger walk it. So I use my fingers and I just kind of do this with the bait to make sure it's swimming away. And then everybody needs to be in sync with each other, because that bait's going to be swimming, and then it's going to start heading this way on the boat because the boat's drifting that way. So the next guy can cast, and everyone goes, down the line. Yeah, and this is how you're supposed to do it. Now you see why if you leave your rod at the reel, it's a problem, right? Because it's going to be in the way. So everyone goes up until you get all the way to this side, unless you get hooked up, right? So that's basically how the rotation on fly lining for bait goes. So it's really important. A lot of times, on some boats we've been on, there's guys that just kind of stay there. It's really annoying. So don't be that guy or girl.
Yeah, don't be that.
Don't be that guy or girl.
So yeah, real quick on that. So like Richard was saying, the boats, these bigger boats, the way they're designed, they drift stern first. So they're going to drift with the back of the boat. The stern is going to be drifting that way. And then you always want to cast with the wind in your face, because the boat's going to go stern first, say straight back. But if the wind is coming off this way, the current, really more the wind, it's going to blow it off this way. So you want to be casting into the wind, so that way your bait's away from the boat. Versus if you cast this way, the boat's going to drift right over your line, right? So when you're live bait fishing, casting into the wind, or kind of as much as you can, and then again, if the boat's drifting, if it's drifting off this way, you're going to follow your bait around, everybody in a line, the Congo line, up to the bow. When you get to the bow or thereabouts, you can pull it. If you're not bit, you pull it in, get a new bait, start all over.
Yeah. So you're doing this, right? And then all of a sudden, your spool starts moving faster. What do you do?
Panic.
What do you do?
Start reeling. Just start steadily reeling.
Huh?
Just start reeling to set the hook.
No, you're in free spool, right?
Oh,
So if you're using a lever drag, you just kind of
Close it
ease the
slowly.
lever into gear. You know, and just let it. Well, actually, I actually count to like 5 before I do it at any. And then I just ease it in. I don't go all the way to strike. I just kind of ease it in. After it rises a little bit, then I'll go off to strike. But what else do you do when you have a fast fish on? And he's going that way.
Follow it.
Follow.
What do you do?
Start walk.
You gotta use your outside voice.
Oh, yeah.
Fish on.
Right? You
Fish
gotta
on.
go hook up
Oh.
loud as you can a lot of times. Because what that diesel motor's going, there's a lot of times there's more than one person hooked up.
Coming
And then you need to
through.
figure out, you need to weave through the people. So over, under. If the deckhand's near you, listen to them. If the deckhand wants your rod, give it to them so they can get you out of the mess. Real important. And it makes everybody's life easier.
And another point about when the deckhand asks your rod, you say, okay, you're gonna give it to them, they're gonna say, got it. They will literally say, got it, then you let go. When they give it back to you, you say, got it, and they're gonna let go, right? They're probably not gonna let go until you say, got it. So you make sure you have your rod back before you say, because when you say got it, they're gonna let go.
Yeah, and we make sure you got it because you
We've seen
know.
them.
Because you can have $1,200 flying over the side. Especially if you're borrowing gear from us.
Or renting gear that you got to pay back.
Yeah. The next part will be knots and oh no, I forgot. There's tags. Is everyone familiar with fish tags?
No.
So on the boat, you'll get assigned a number, and they'll come with like on the shower curtain rings. They'll have tags with a number on it, and what happens is like you catch a fish, you'll tell the deckhand what number you are, and they'll staple the tag to the gill plate. So real
Okay.
simple, sort of.
Kind of like a charter. Some charters do that still.
Yeah, exactly. So
If you're to catch a tuna, would it be safe to take up the hook yourself, or do you wait for a deckhand?
I usually let them do it. Yeah. So
Good
and
point.
they're really efficient.
Does this boat have, they don't have RSW on this boat, they do? Oh, good.
What is that?
RSW is refrigerated seawater.
Okay.
So basically below deck, and they kept just above freezing, just like 1 degree above freezing. So they'll they'll cut the gills on your fish, and then when there's a lull in the action, they'll staple the tag on the gill plate. When there's a lull in the action, they'll make a hole, whatever. They'll open up the hatch, and everything goes in there. So when you get your fish back at the end of the trip, it's like primo.
Fully bled.
Yeah, none of these boomerangs that have been sitting in a gunny sack.
No baked potato fish. Yeah, so the primary knots we're going to be using, you know, for leader to hook, Yuna knot, Alomar knot, the Springer knot. I don't use it, Jeff does, so if you want to learn it, you can ask him. Real simple stuff, most of you probably already know that. The other 2 knots is your braid to leader. So mostly it'll be the RP knot or the FG knot. So does everyone know how to tie those? So that's what we're gonna be spending some time on that today. Jeff's really good at the FG knot, so I'm gonna let him do the demo on that. I'll help people with the RP. And then before we'll do the knots after. And then setting your drag.
Yep. Got us. Go through that. Well, so where are we at on this? 'Cause that's
Setting the drag.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys know, we have to be out of here at 8
What
o'clock.
time is it?
Oh, it closed at 9? So what time do we have to be out of here?
Plenty of time.
Okay, yeah. All right.
I thought you said
Yeah, I think he meant the manager was leaving at 8:30, but.
Oh, okay. So we're good till 8:30? Okay, never mind.
What time is it now?
6.
8?
6
6.
o'clock.
Plenty of time. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Just
So yeah, so setting your drag, you're always gonna set your drag to the lightest line, pound test line that you're fishing. So in this case, I have 80-pound Spectra, but I only have 60-pound mono. So I will set it based on the 60-pound mono or fluorocarbon line rating. So typically you will set it between 25 and 30% of the pound test. So if I have 60 pound, I'm gonna either set it at 15 pounds, which would be 25, or 18 pounds is 30, right? And back in the day, you didn't have scales, so you would, you have it in strike. So here's my strike setting, and you do this, and you can pull it. And this is really not anywhere close to where it needs to be, even if it's there. Yeah, this is way late. But you would do that. Well, when you're fishing this grade of fish that we're fishing, these are really nice fish. What you don't want to have is your drag too loose where they're dragging out tons of line. A, it's not as good for the hook set, and B, you're going to have so much line out there, you're going to have more chances for tangles, etc. So if you have it too tight, you're going to pop the hook and your fish is gone. So it is very important to have the drag set properly, and the best way to do that is with a scale. So, and this is something that we can do on the boat, but we'll just give you a quick demonstration. You just do this without a hook on. You can do it with a hook, but it's more dangerous. Just tie a quick overhand knot loop, and then you
What
can
pound
just,
tester?
this is going to be 80 pounds, so I'm on 20 at strike. So I'm going to
25, right?
Hmm?
25.
80, yeah, 25. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to fish 60, so I only want
Sit
18.
20. Yeah, 18 to 20.
So now, and again, when you're on a lever drag reel like this, you're going to always have it in free spool before you set it. And then you can adjust your preset knob on the side. This knob right here. You never want to adjust this when it's in here, it'll damage the reel. So put it in free spool, righty tighty, loosey, lefty loosey. So give it a little bit of a turn, you're gonna put it in strike. Then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a straight pull. So then what Richard's gonna do, he's got a scale here and he's just gonna pull. And he's gonna pull not just this, he's gonna give it like a pull like a fish is gonna run.
10 pounds.
Huh?
10 pounds.
Okay, so that's not good. So we're gonna go here, free spool, you're gonna give it a little bit of, a few more crank.
On the Penn Fathom 2s that you have to pull the knob out. And
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
They're 25.
So that's too much. I think I didn't have it all in the strike before. Okay? Let me go in.
Yeah, 25 still.
Still 25? Okay.
I think the scale.
All right, so we want this right around 18 pounds. Go ahead.
You know what? You need to go tighter.
Hmm?
You know what? I messed up. Go tighter.
Go tighter?
I didn't reset your drag indicator or your weight saver. I know.
That's a really nice reel.
Yeah, we're about 18.
Okay.
Up there.
So you can send a straight pull. You can also do it where someone's holding the drag, the scale, and then you can pull back on it. That way you're also measuring how much drag the rod is adding into it. That's just a little more dangerous in my opinion, just because somebody's got to hold this thing and it's just kind of a pain. But that's important on setting the drag. That's how you would set it with a lever drag reel. Again, always adjusting your preset only after you have it in free spool. On a star drag reel, you just tighten, loosen, again, right side loosey, lefty loosey.
And just
And
to
now I
give-
just got my first backlash of the night.
As Jeff talks, I'll just give you an idea. Just try pulling 18. This is about 20 pounds. Try pulling it on the spool. So it's not like fish up here. So I mean, yeah, it's really tight. I mean, when you feel it compared to what we normally set lines to in Northern California, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you don't cut yourself trying to pull it.
Yeah,
That's-
right.
Yeah, so. This is at 20 pounds. This is like 60 pound rig. Right. So just to give you an idea of the pressure.
So if it's lighter than that, are you gonna lose fish?
No, but you could spool it if it's too light.
Right,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, it's really moving away.
Yeah, you can. It's not like
These
cutting
are very
yourself.
big fish.
The problem with two loses again, instead of hitting.
Now, wait till you feel it on the rod when we go in there.
They run on
It's
too much line.
What
not what you think, right?
what is this reel rated for?
This will. I have it set to 25. It'll go higher, like in
40?
Yeah.
30, 40?
Yeah.
Link code is nothing.
No, link odds.
It seems like you'd rip it out of the fish's mouth at that.
That's why you ease it into gear.
Okay. And that would be for catching like a 200 class tuna right there?
You could. Yeah. I mean, this is.
That seems like way more than 20 pounds.
Oh, this is set on the scale.
You'd be
Alan
surprised too.
Tommy.
Once you get a fish, they take off like
It's
something.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why you get spooled. That's why you get spooled so easy, right?
Yeah,
It seems
you're
like a
up
lot
here,
more.
you're catching salmon, lingcod, halibut, whatever. Even in Alaska.
The other thing I
And
remember.
it's just not the same. This is like the only kind of fishing that really tests your god.
You know, the thing is, like, salmon have very soft mouths. so
You wanna
can
come
have
on in?
soft, dry.
Okay. We have pizza and stuff too, drinks.
Dorados, they don't have real soft mouths, right? So,
What's your name? Rudy. Who? Manny. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm Steve. Okay, sounds good.
so you don't have to go slam it in a strike. Just ease it in, and the fish will slow down usually and stop before you even get to strike. You can fight the fish it that way, and then when you get close to the boat, you can put it to strike, and then that way the fish is easier to control the fish with the jet casting after. So you don't have to
Oh, here's your hook
go
too.
in and strike right away.
Here's the bullet points that we're going through.
We have time to do that. What is it?
Well, then, because the only people learning here
Okay.
and Ron and Jessica.
And he's on the trip too.
Okay.
Ooh. Oh,
He's gonna be on the trip too.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, what's your name? Rudy. Rudy. That's it, Richard.
And a couple more guys are coming too.
You've been, right?
You're out of space.
Yeah. Yeah, so right now I guess we can do knots. Who needs to learn RP knots?
Well, I actually learned.
Yeah, you know that. So who wants to know RP knots? Okay.
Everybody wants to learn.